Hunter x Hunter, Chapter 388, titled Deliberation, continues on with Kurapika's continued training of the various bodyguards of the princes in order to help them learn Nen. However, the two gentlemen from Prince Benjamin's faction, who actually do have experience with Nen, call out that they will use their abilities to judge whether or not it is possible that Kurapika is using some form of ability in order to control the various people, creating a kind of false Nen ability within them in order to have them be used as spies, more or less, for a later date. However, as the various people go in and out of the closed off training section, because Kurapika knows that when you train for Nen, you don't show the full hand. When you study and understand Nen, your best bet is to never let people know what you are fully capable of. And his ideal situation is to create a stalemate within the various factions until they can reach landfall and hopefully have a more peaceful solution to this succession war. Ultimately, though, the member of Prince Benjamin's men says that he cannot fully determine whether or not the people are being manipulated. They ultimately bring in Maurer, who, was the most skeptical about the whole situation going on between Kurapika, and his various Nen training. He doesn't truly believe that Kurapika and Bill are really able to do what they say they're able to do. However, we come to find out that, Kurapika is using his ability in order to transfer Nen abilities to other people in order to better awaken them, in a much more painless method, more or less. You know, a Nen attack, proclaims that ultimately a Nen attack doesn't really have to be an attack per se, as, it can be just like a slight pinch or a stab or something like that. It's called a Nen attack simply because of the fact that it's used in order to dissuade people from actually trying to forcibly unlock Nen in various people. The greatest danger of something like that comes from the fact that, when you teach Nen to someone, ultimately it could end up falling in the hands of a truly dangerous person, which could create an uncontrollable situation if, people en masse were all able to gain Nen, much like we see with the various psychopaths running around like the Phantom Troop, or even with the Chimera Ants. Nen in other beings who have violent tendencies can be a very dangerous thing. And with the gaining of power in Mar, Prince Benjamin's soldiers ultimately confirm that they are able to awaken to some degree, a very slight degree, Nen in various other people. One of them even notes that with the level of aura that the person Mar is letting off, the fact that he's slowly starting to, understand it, make it his own more or less. He notes that if it weren't for the fact that he knew the person was untrained, he'd be on his guard against Mar, because it's just like he's letting off aura, that's a sign that it's just like, I should be wary. But he also notes the fact that someone of his age shouldn't have the amount of Nen that he's putting off, showing that it's a very unnatural way that Kurapika is going about this. Which surely ultimately it is. He's using his ability to redirect this ability into other people, allowing them to gain abilities for a short amount of time, ultimately deciding that, no, no matter what, as long as they reach a stalemate, it's worth the risks at hand. We even have this bit of a heart to heart between Kurapika and Bill, where, it's noted that Bill's abilities, aren't really much suited for combat, which is the whole reason why he ultimately came with the to be with the prince that he did, because he figured that a small child wouldn't really be involved in this kind of situation. It would be a little bit more easy sailing, just protecting a baby. But as he quickly came to find out, that was far from the case. And he ultimately feels that he is a bit of a coward in this pursuit, and he's ultimately just glad to be able to help in a considerable way. Kurapika reassures him that the amount of resolve and will to protect the prince that Bill has shown off isn't the mark of a person who has cowardice, but a true sense of resolve and loyalty. We then switch off to another one of the princes, who is Topop. Topop, I think Topop. I think that's how you say the person's name. And the one of Prince Benjamin's soldiers who is able to create Nen beasts to consume the Guardian beasts in order for them to more easily be able to take on and kill the various princes in the name of Prince Benjamin. And we have this lengthy amount of dialogue of the thought process between this gentleman, the member of, I think it's Rihan, the member of Prince Benjamin's forces, who, and we also have a bit of a moment between him and Topa, where they're both going through all of this information in their mind. The fact that, how Moore's aura, is that of someone who is just starting to learn Nen. Mora had reported back to Topa that, the abilities that Kurapika is instilling in various people is legit. It's Nen is something very much worth learning, which will be something that will put a lot of the princes on equal footing. He also thinks of the fact that, Hulkenberg has also unlocked his own ability, which is, continues to create that stalemate because nobody's really going to go up against each other in these situations where all these abilities are being unlocked. And you don't really want to get into a situation where you don't know what the other person's ability truly is. The more confusion that you create, the better odds each prince has. And I think this person, Rihan, continues to think about this whole situation, about all the risks, about how he should be able to use Predator, how Predator has these limitations, that he has to understand some degree of what his opponent can do, Not to mention, it requires 48 hours to recharge. All the various princes he needs to try to go after. He wants to try to reveal as little about himself as possible. The author of the Hunter x Hunter series continues to just be this person who tries to get out as much information as possible to as many people as possible, to help you understand, the limitations of what certain abilities can really do. Because ultimately, creating these limitations creates a more believable power structure. Understanding it's just like, I can do this as long as I do this. I can do this, but because of that, I can no longer do this because of that. There's all these exceptions and situations in here. Right? Even with a great deal of experience, you can still be caught unawares by someone who is only just awakened to their own abilities. And then we come over to Topaz, or however you pronounce this person's name, their frame of thought, and the fact that, of course, Benjamin's forces have to be the assassins. How should we deal with this? The various rumblings that are going on. Who exactly is causing this? Why are the intervals between the rumblings slowly, starting the intervals between the rumblings slowly shrinking? You know, what who killed Sail? What exactly happened there? You know, who will be the next person to be targeted? And we don't know exactly what ended up killing Prince Sail. What kind of ability was it? There's the ultimately it's a battle for information. Nen battles in general aren't just all about the fist fights and the attacks and the blows. There's circumstances. There's, you know, certain limitations that you have to undergo, and you have to try to, get your opponent's attention away from those limitations, or else you end up screwed in the end. There's so much going on. And, this prince, Topa, wants to, Topa wants to get as much information as possible before they go on the offensive. They don't want to, go in under, go and start investigating under just suspicion alone, because that can create a whole other situation in general. You know, wondering about, because Topa, I believe, is, has the same mother as Sail, so he's trying to get information from her as well. There's about anything that was weird about Sail's room, anything, you know, certain things they could get from other princes, just like, and Topab is, understanding the full depths of what needs to be done. We also had a comment before from Rohan in the fact that, Topab abilities, their Nen Beast hasn't revealed itself yet. So the true scope of what Topab is able to do is very much unknown. The fact that they're analyzing the situation this much before we have their ability revealed shows that it'll probably end up being something very strong, as, very akin to Hulkenberg's ability, which was being able to, you know, insert the mind or spirit of one of their allies into the body of an enemy using this kind of arrow like shot, you know. And, it really very much creates this situation where it's just like there's these various methods, because these guardian spirit beasts are very much all about protecting the princes. They're not so much all about the offensive. It's more about, creating more allies, gaining certain things, being able to do things with other people. There's this connection with others that is created because of the Nen Beast. Sales was all about, slowly manipulating others. Hulkenberg is all about, using their allies in order to take over enemies' allies. You know, Fugetsu was all about allying with another of the princes, and just, and even then it would, you know, there was a connection on top of that as well that just created this kind of ring of protection and, togetherness, basically. And ultimately, I think that's, the whole frame of mind of the king as well. Despite how cruel this succession war ultimately is, the king, created a situation where the various princes have these abilities that are pretty much all about, coming together with others in order to create something better. And I feel that ultimately, if the princes are able to understand that fact, It'll be the prince who understands the full scope of their guardian spirit beast's ability who will be able to truly become king in the end, for better or for worse. And we end things with Kurapika noticing the rumbling slowly increasing and the interval between them shrinking. What these rumblings mean, we'll just have to find out. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What did I miss in my explanation? Because I'm trying to understand this as much as possible. But, Togashi put out this massive amount of text that's just like, am I fully grasping this? Am I fully understanding the situation going on here? Was it just certain characters mulling about things that we already knew? Or was it, the fact that they were just trying to get in their head because they're going to play a more important role further down the line. We'll just have to wait, see, and find out later down the line. How many of these princes will end up truly coming into play as we march further on? And will Kurapika ever really get back the eyes of the Kurta clan? It seemed like a very simple mission, but as we saw with the York New City arc, that's very much not the case. It's never that simple. It's never that simple. But again, tell me your thoughts on this chapter in the comment section below. And if you liked what I had to say and felt that despite me tripping over so many things in this chapter, if you feel like I was able to explain this situation to you, leave me a like. If you feel I was greatly lacking, which I probably was, feel free to leave me a dislike and subscribe for more chapter reviews of Hunter x Hunter. Thanks for joining me.